So tonight, Dallas just finished a live stream where he talked about not only the future of The Chosen, talking about 5 and 2 Studios and future projects, which we've already spoken about at length at this channel, but he also gave us an exact, well, sort of exact release date for The Chosen Season 5. Now, there are a few things that come along with this, a few things that are implied here along with this release date, and there's a few reasons why they decided to do this. So we're going to go through all of it. We're going to go through all of what Dallas said, including something crazy, which I did not expect him to say at all. So first things first, when is it going to release? The Chosen Season 5 is going to release obviously in 2025, and this is going to be in early April. He doesn't know whether it's going to be the first week or the second week, and this is going to be in theaters, just like we did last time, okay? So this is going to be a little bit different, I think, than what we did last year. Not only because it's later in the year, but also because the practices that are going to be done here for the theatrical release are going to be much different than what we've experienced before. First things first, we don't know if these are going to come out in 2-episode chunks, 3-episode chunks, what it's going to look like, right? We could see them come out in, like they did last time, in 3-episode chunks and then 2 to finish out the season. That could definitely be what we see. However, he did add on top of this something insane, which is that at some point during the theatrical release, there's going to be an opportunity for you to literally watch all 8 episodes in one sitting. Generally, the Chosen episodes have gotten longer and longer throughout the seasons, and so we're kind of at an average of an hour or more per episode, which means that you're most likely looking at 9+ hours in the theater to sit through the entire thing. I'm sure they're gonna have bathroom breaks. I'm sure it's gonna be like, it's gonna be interesting, but to have a 9+ hour session in the theater, I don't know if I could handle that. That might be a little bit too much for me. Maybe I'm dumb enough to do it because I could make a YouTube video out of it. But for those of you that are that hardcore, I mean, big up to you for sure. We'll have to think about it for sure if we're gonna do that or not. I'd much rather watch, I think, 2 or 3 episodes together in chunks. That is definitely not for the faint of heart, for sure. So that's pretty crazy, but let's talk about everything that goes around with this. Why is it so late in the year? Why is The Chosen being delayed from its normal kind of release dates, which is like February, March-ish, right? Normally we're seeing The Chosen earlier on in the year. We're seeing things happen earlier on. The reason why this is being pushed forward so far is not because it's going to take them super long to get it done. I think they could definitely have it done early in the year in 2025, in the first month or two. However, they are pushing it further along, not only to get the kind of background noise and the coloring and the CGI and everything else added into the final product, but also they want to translate this into many, many different languages. So they don't want to just put it out in English like they've done previously. That's caused a lot of issues, especially in like Brazil and some other areas where The Chosen is really, really big, right? So they want to be able to translate the show into all of these other languages so that they can release it in a bunch of languages at the same time. This does not mean they're going to release it in, 60, 70 languages at the same time, but it is going to be a lot more than just English, which is a good thing. I think that's a great way to release the show. It's going to create hype not only in the English markets, but also all these other markets that they're going to release in at the same time. So I think that's great. I think it's going to be a huge rise for The Chosen during that time. And it's going to be awesome for the show. It's going to be awesome for our channel, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of stuff that's going to go along with that. Now, the second reason I think really why they're changing the date here is because for seasons 5, 6, and 7, they really want to be around that Easter time frame. Why? Well, one, it's a huge time for movies, right? People will go to church on a Sunday morning. They'll have an Easter dinner. Maybe in between, they're going to the movies. Maybe people skip Easter dinner and they go out for dinner. Then they go to the movies and watch that, right? It's a big time for movie releases that weekend. And so it's a huge time for families to get together, to go and watch The Chosen together and have that big moment at the theater, which I think is super smart of them to be able to release during that time. If you think about it earlier on in the year, January, February, March, you're not getting as much like press and stuff that's happening during that time for the movies, specifically if you're going to release in theaters, right? Wouldn't matter as much if they were going to release directly into the app, which we'll talk about in just a second. Now, Easter obviously is a great time. That makes a lot of sense for seasons 5, 6, and 7. I think it's great. That just makes a lot of sense. Other than, yeah, I'm gonna have to really battle over this 8 episodes in one sitting in the theater type thing. But will that ticket be the same price as the rest of the tickets? How does that work? Like, I've never ever seen that in the theaters before, which of course is another disrupting thing. Maybe it's just a media thing. Like, they just want news outlets to talk about it. I don't know. That's crazy to me. Let me know your thoughts on it for sure. But diving into this, thinking about season 5 overall, thinking about where it's going to be sitting, it's really interesting. I think season 5 is going to be one of the biggest of the show ever. I think that the people that are going to go to theaters, okay, that's going to be great. However, what does that mean for the app as well? So if it's going to come out in April, then most likely we're looking at 2 months after that, minimum maybe, until it releases on the app, depending on how they're going to do these releases. Are they going to do 3 releases every single week or every other week like they've done previously? Or is it going to be a different way of putting these out, right? We don't know. We don't have all the answers to that yet. I don't think Dallas has all the answers to that either. And so there's definitely some questions there for sure. So we're going to have to see. But it does mean that most likely March, April, May is when I'm assuming is the earliest we'll see it on the app, would be my guess. And maybe even later than that, depending on what kind of goes on, what they need to do, marketing-wise and everything else. My guess is that May or June is the earliest that we're going to see Chosen Season 5 on the app, which kind of makes sense with where we saw it this year as well. It's almost a year after we saw the release of that in early June of this year. And so makes sense that it would be a year around that time later. But it could be a little bit earlier as well. So maybe it's an 11-month kind of cadence instead of a 12-month cadence like they wanted it to be. They've talked about that before. Yeah, it's going to be epic for sure. I just have some questions about what's going to kind of go on there. Just like I have every year. You guys know me. Just like every year I have questions about how they're going to release it and what's going to happen. And of course, throughout all of it, we'll be here talking about it and telling you guys what's kind of going on. I do want to mention at the end of this video, though, that there are some things that he mentioned in terms of 5 and 2 and some different things like that. Some things that he confirmed for us that we didn't really know before. One of those things is Dallas has always been quoted as saying after he's done with The Chosen, he's going to take a year-long break, essentially. This is true, apparently. He is going to take a break after The Chosen Season 7 before he goes into the Book of Moses, which of course is the next show that he is doing after that. However, there will be other shows that come out, other projects and other things, for example, the animated series, and I'm sure other things that they're working on behind the scenes that they haven't told us about yet. They're going to come out during that break between season 7 of The Chosen and the first season of the Book of Moses, which we know is 3 seasons total. So Dallas is going to take a break. There's going to be other things that kind of fill in that spot, but that means that not only are we going to have a year break from stuff from Dallas, but actually it's going to be a 2-year break, because remember, they have to film the thing, right? So Dallas is going to take a year-long break, let's assume that. Then he's going to have to film the project. Then it's going to take about another 9 months or so in order to make the project public, right? So it's really going to be a 2-year-long break in between season 7 of The Chosen and the beginning of the Book of Moses, which is sad. But there's a lot of other projects that we're excited about coming up soon. So I'm excited to see how that goes overall. We're just going to have to figure out together, as we always do as the Chosen fans. There's been some years when we had to wait a year. There's been some years when we've waited almost 2 full years for a Chosen season. And so there's going to be other projects, luckily through 5 and 2 Studios, of course, that is coming. So anyway, so yeah, all of that said, our timeline has changed a little bit. So April of 2025 is season 5. April-ish of 2026 should be season 6, and then April of 2027 should be season 7. That's when we should assume that these the seasons should be released after that, and then we should see the Book of Moses in 2029 would be my guess. So yeah, that's the timeline that we have so far. That's the release date for The Chosen. Let me know if you have any questions about anything. I'll try to answer those in the comments down below. Yeah, interesting live stream overall, interesting time frame that we have here. And of course, season 5 is going to be very epic. So we'll see you along for the ride. as we go through it. All right, we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.